Humans seem morbidly fascinated with the idea of the end of the world and how it might happen. Movies and novels have long portrayed a multitude of ways in which civilization as we know it might fall. However, unfortunately, such works of fiction are often very much based upon reality. As human technology advances, so does the efficiency with which we can destroy each other, and even more worryingly, homegrown threats are not the only scenario that could destroy us. Here are my choices for 5 of the most likely ways the world will end. Number 5. Artificial intelligence. One of the most hotly debated threats to human life is the emergence and possible takeover of artificial intelligence and robots. While the advent of such technology may hold the key to solving many of the world's problems such as poverty, environmental destruction, and disease, many believe that such machines could pose a threat to mankind's very existence. In the short term, advanced computers and robotics may seem like a blessing. The possibilities for improving human life seem endless. More advanced products can be manufactured, and even greater technologies can be uncovered, vastly improving human quality and length of life. However, such automation presents very real dangers. The rise of intelligent machines is predicted to destroy millions of jobs, and if there are no alternative jobs to replace them, such a change in society could cause immense unrest and hardship. However, these worries are just the tip of the iceberg. The ever-increasing sophistication of AI could lead to a situation referred to as the singularity, where the AI becomes so powerful that it's able to expand its own intelligence exponentially and reach a point where it's not only superior to the human intellect, but it's so advanced that human beings essentially become redundant, as the AI enters a spiral of ever-increasing leaps in its own self-improvement. If the AI were to remain friendly towards humans, such a singularity could lead to the establishment of a utopia on Earth, as all forms of labour are eliminated, allowing humans to live a life of pure leisure without suffering. But the danger is that the AI may decide that human life is either a threat or simply no longer needed, leading it to wage a campaign of extermination. In fact, such fears are not just the stuff of sci-fi novels. Eminent scientists and businessmen have echoed such dangers. Stephen Hawking recently warned that the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race, pointing out that although early forms of AI had proved extremely useful to the human race, more advanced forms of such an intelligence would render humans, who are limited by slow biological evolution, simply unable to compete. Elon Musk also described AI as mankind's biggest existential threat, and what terrifies many is the unpredictability of such a situation. We simply have no way of knowing whether advanced AI will help us, ignore us, or destroy us. So how exactly could such a possible AI and robotic takeover occur? Super-intelligent machines would be able to outwit their human opponents, as well as manipulate us, possibly recruiting humans to join its cause, or sowing discontent and civil war amongst human populations, weakening mankind as a whole, as well as taking control of our own weapons and using them against us. They would also be able to easily and quickly self-replicate, rendering any losses suffered irrelevant, and combat machines are likely to be tougher, better armed, and far more lethal than human soldiers. While an advanced AI might be controlled by keeping it shut off from the outside world, or being fitted with a kill switch, such precautions could be overridden by the AI manipulating others to help it escape, or by it simply gaining freedom through some other unimagined strategy. And although it could be programmed with human values, there is no way to know whether such attempts would work. Although the fear of a cybernetic revolt might be based on our own history, where the stronger and more advanced tend to eradicate the weaker and more primitive, such a competitive and aggressive nature might not be present in AI. But it's this unknown aspect to the technology which would prove so dangerous. Will a super advanced AI help us, ignore us, or destroy us? With many scientists predicting that such technology may be with us in just a few decades, it's likely that many watching this video will find out within their lifetimes. Number 4. Biological warfare. Biological weapons have a long history of use in human warfare, and accounts of such weapons being deployed dates as far back as 1500 BC, when people infected with diseases would be driven into enemy lands to wreak havoc. Since then, wells have been poisoned, and weapons have been coated with venom or feces to cause infections in the people they injure. In 184 BC, Hannibal of Carthage even filled clay pots with venomous snakes to hurl at enemy ships during naval battles, and a popular strategy in the medieval era was to hurl dead animals or plague-infected corpses into enemy castles and towns, spreading disease amongst the defending soldiers. As medical science has improved, so has the effectiveness and deadliness of such weapons, and we have now reached a point where weaponized pathogens threaten the very existence of mankind. The Second World War saw the use of biological weapons by Axis forces which killed thousands, and while the major powers have signed treaties outlawing their use, the threat of biological attack could come from a whole host of other sources, including terrorists and rogue states, or simply an unhinged scientist or cult wanting to bring about the end of the world. Such biological weapons are often viewed as the poor man's nuclear bomb, and they can be a potent way to counter the incredibly overwhelming military superiority of the United States and other world powers armed with nuclear weapons. In fact, the 1995 sarin gas attack inside the Tokyo subway perfectly demonstrates how a small group can obtain and wreak havoc with small doses of weaponized diseases. And while pathogens such as anthrax and Ebola have treatments or cures, the real danger posed by biological warfare is the use of unknown genetically engineered organisms that have no treatment and have been specifically designed to spread as quickly as possible, inflicting casualties in the billions. Such an unknown and highly potent biological weapon would devastate unsuspecting populations, destroying civilization as we know it, as governments would be unable to come up with a cure in time. What's more terrifying is that such theories about lab-created viruses are based upon reality. In 2011, researchers engineered a mutant version of the bird flu H5N1 that could be transmitted via air, causing many to speculate as to the possibility that such a deadly disease might escape the confines of the lab, either through an accident, sabotage, or just intentionally being released. Such bioweapons don't need armies to deploy, and a single person could cause an outbreak by spreading an infectious disease in a highly populated city. And with our world so globalized and connected, if the virus were engineered to be as contagious as possible, it could spread across the planet within days. Attempts to regulate such activities seem to be struggling to keep up with the rapid advancements taking place in biotechnology. And as the technology continues to improve, it's not out of the realms of possibility that a madman or terrorist group with enough money might be able to obtain or create their own bioweapon using an unknown engineered virus or bacteria and use it to destroy civilization, killing billions. In fact, even if a significant portion of people survived a bio-attack due to having a natural immunity to the disease, it's unlikely that civilization as we know it would survive, as what's left of humanity struggles with simply obtaining enough food and water to survive each day. Number 3. An asteroid impact. Small shards of comets or asteroids collide with the Earth frequently. Although they usually burn up while falling through the Earth's atmosphere, occasionally they do survive the journey, and it's estimated that thousands of space rocks hit the planet's surface each year. We don't usually notice these asteroid strikes, as they are normally small and tend to land in the sprawling, uninhabited regions of the planet, such as the oceans, deserts, or forests. However, it's the possibility of a much larger asteroid colliding with the Earth that has many scientists worried. What has them so concerned is that an asteroid measuring just 70 meters across could impact with as much as 100 megatons of energy, depending on where it hits, what speed it's traveling at, and what it's made of. To put this into perspective, the most powerful nuclear device ever detonated yielded around 50 megatons. A 70-meter asteroid could impact with a force twice as large, and depending on where it landed, could easily wipe out a major city. What's more terrifying is that 70 meters is relatively small. An asteroid measuring 4.6 kilometers across is the largest known potentially hazardous object lurking nearby, and although the odds of it striking the Earth are minute, such an event could create a yield of several million megatons, which would wipe out multiple countries upon impact, killing hundreds of millions more in the resulting worldwide fires, as well as shooting up giant clouds of dust into the atmosphere, causing severe climate change. Even more worrying is that asteroids as large as 900 kilometers across are known to exist in the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, and should an object anywhere near this large ever find its way to Earth, the result would easily be worldwide extinction of all life on the planet, regardless of where it lands. Thankfully, the odds of an asteroid big enough to destroy civilization ever hitting the Earth are tiny, and it's estimated that such an event will only happen once every few million years. However, large asteroids have been known to hit the Earth in the past. It's widely believed that a large asteroid impact caused the mass extinction of dinosaurs when around 65 million years ago, an asteroid measuring 10 kilometers across struck the Earth, and in 1908, an asteroid measuring at least 60 meters across crashed into a remote area of Siberia, flattening over 2,000 square kilometers of forest when it exploded in mid-air. Similar scars from previous impact events litter the planet's surface, showing that such strikes do occur from time to time, and are almost certain to occur again at some point in the future. The only question is when it will happen and how big the asteroid will be. Number 2. Alien intervention. While to many the idea of aliens existing may seem like something out of a Hollywood movie, when you consider that there are at least 100 billion galaxies in the universe, with each galaxy containing hundreds of millions of stars, the possibility that life might have evolved on another planet no longer seems so far-fetched. While it's likely that the majority of such alien life would probably consist of microbes or small animals, there is a good chance that there are countless races of intelligent beings somewhere out there, with many of them being far more advanced than we are. So if these advanced aliens did make their way to Earth, what might be the result? Predicting the likely outcome of any meeting between humans and alien life is nearly impossible, simply because we cannot predict what the motives of the visitors would be. They could be friendly, wanting to guide and assist mankind in its progression, or they could be indifferent, paying us no more attention than we might pay an insect. Or they could be hostile, coming to conquer, enslave, or exterminate. For some insight into what such a meeting might look like, we only need to peer back into our own history. Whenever a more advanced civilization has come into contact with a more primitive one, the outcome is usually disastrous for the latter. As was the case when Europeans discovered the Americas, those with superior technology and weapons tend to conquer and subjugate those who are weaker. While aliens may not necessarily be driven by the same motives and desires as man, it's the pure unpredictability of the outcome of the encounter that's so chilling. Perhaps Earth contains some type of resource that they need and are willing to kill for, or perhaps they view humans as dangerous and a potential future threat, choosing to eradicate us now before we have the tools to threaten them. Disturbingly, some have even pointed to the possibility that they may view us as potential slaves, or even pets, cute little creatures to be domesticated for their own amusement, in the same way that a human might own a dog or a cat, or there may be some other unknown, utterly alien logic behind their actions towards us. Even if they're not motivated by hostility, the result of any encounter may still spell doom for our species. There is a chance that they could accidentally carry with them some kind of disease that could prove fatal to humans, or upset the Earth's ecosystem in some way, decimating mankind. It's not just conspiracy theorists and sci-fi fans dreaming up such possibilities. Stephen Hawking recently revealed that he is certain advanced aliens exist, and that any encounter with them would likely prove disastrous for humans. He speculated that it was highly probable that any alien species which made its way to Earth would have hostile intentions, seeking to drain the Earth's resources or colonize the planet, wiping us out in the process. So if there are aliens out there, where are they and why haven't they visited yet? Popular theories are that advanced civilizations are simply too far apart to ever contact each other, or that they always destroy themselves once they reach a certain level of technology, or that they are indeed somewhere out there but choose to remain hidden. Given the high number of potentially disastrous outcomes of any meeting between humans and aliens, perhaps it's for the best that, as of yet, no official contact appears to have been made. Number 1. Nuclear war. The threat of a global nuclear war between the Soviet Union and the United States seemed very real for much of the second half of the 20th century. It was only with the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 and the subsequent end of the Cold War that the danger seemed to have subsided, and public focus shifted towards other potential security threats, such as terrorism and climate change. Despite this, the threat of a nuclear apocalypse remains very much real, and global nuclear war is still widely believed to be the most likely cause of the end of human civilization as we know it. With rogue states like North Korea and Iran known to be actively pursuing nuclear armament, the threat of a nuclear conflict is as dangerous as ever. Huge stockpiles of nuclear weapons still exist littered across the globe, and even though the Cold War is officially over, more countries than ever are now armed with nuclear weapons. One area of particular concern is the very fact that the USSR collapsed. Prior to 1991, the Soviet Union had over 27,000 nuclear weapons, and enough plutonium and uranium to make 3 times more. However, economic decline, coupled with corruption, has led to fears over just how safe these weapons now are, with the possibility that they may be stolen, or that poorly paid nuclear scientists may be tempted to sell their skills to outside groups. Although there have been no confirmed reports of weapons going missing, the International Atomic Energy Agency recently reported that over 100 nuclear smuggling attempts have been thwarted since 1993, so it's certainly possible that either weapons or the materials required to make the weapons may have been smuggled out of the country and found its way into the hands of criminals, terrorists, or rogue states. While one device being detonated by terrorists would not end civilization on its own, the fear is that such an incident could spark a global nuclear war, as blame is assigned to other nations for the attack, and retribution is taken. So just how likely is a global nuclear war? With the tactic of mutually assured destruction, it might seem as though no nation would ever be foolish enough to use nuclear weapons against another nuclear-armed nation. However, this is not the only scenario that could play out. Russian military doctrine calls for the use of nuclear weapons in any case of aggression against Russia where the very existence of the state is threatened. It's likely that in any conflict where a nuclear-armed state is under threat, they will use nuclear weapons as a last-ditch defense, even if they have only been attacked with conventional weapons. Whether such a war would end civilization as we know it depends on how many weapons are used. Although the initial impacts of such weapons could kill huge numbers of people and destroy entire cities, the biggest killer may not be the weapons themselves. A nuclear winter is the theorized effect on the environment of any large-scale nuclear conflict. The cloud of smoke and dust caused by the explosions and fires might block out the sun's rays, lowering temperatures and disrupting global food production, leading to mass starvation, the collapse of civilization, and even human extinction. Just how big a war would have to be to cause a nuclear winter is unknown. However, it's something we all hope will continue to remain an untested theory. So those are my choices for 5 of the most likely causes of the end of the world. Let me know what else you would have included in the list in the comments below, and I'll see you again on the next video.